who's missing, or if you guys want to look back, then you'll have access to this. So I'll make sure you guys all get a copy. But I wanted to introduce myself quickly. I'm Andrea Tornes. I owned a fitness studio for a good portion of my career. So, about 10 years, I had a personal training studio for women who were 40 plus. So we had different personal trainers. We had the Pilates reformer. We had lots of free weights. We did some nutrition consulting, that kind of thing. I'm also a coach, author, and creator. So I love to coach, ladies on mindset and all of those things. I also wrote a book, Tone for Life. It's more of Awesome. It's more of a book about success, and that I really wanted to point out, like, point A to point B is never a success story. Like, there's so many bumps because when you read those, business books, you're like, wow, they just went from this to this to this, and they don't talk about kind of some of the struggles. So, as a woman business owner, I wanted to share, kind of the work that I did and the work that I had to do internally to get there. And I'm a creator, so I would call myself a visionary 100%. I have a new idea every 10 minutes or so. So I asked ChatGPT to roast me the other day, and it said something about, like, you're an amazing visionary, but you have more ideas than most people do their whole lives before lunch. I was like, oh, thank you. I have five boys. So my youngest son is just turned 16, which I cannot believe. We just celebrated his sweet 16 in Tokyo. And then my oldest is 32. So I have a large range of kids. I love fitness. So literally, I have taught everything from body pump to step aerobics, if anyone remembers what that is. I even taught aqua aerobics for a short stint. And then I coached women in the gym as a personal trainer. And then I'm also Pilates certified. So I did a lot with the reformer. I've also done Olympic lifting myself, and I've competed in CrossFit for a long time. I no longer do that, but just, yeah, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. There's lots of things that I like to do, move my body. I love hiking, getting out in nature. I also am a big biology chemistry geek. So I'm like that one person who got 100% in organic chem. So I have a weird skill set. My brain works differently, but probably hence why I love nutrition. Nutrition is all about chemical reactions in the body, and one reaction creates another. So that just, I'm in awe of how you can change your body and everything with nutrition and workouts. And I love more authentic women. So I like to kind of make myself, well, just be transparent about myself, life, so that I can create that space so that you can too. You can be yourself. And then I'm a lady boss, so I like to lead things with all my ideas and things. So I just thought I'd do a quick introduction, but those are the, happy bullet points. But I also want to share with you all, I struggled for a long time with perimenopause. When I hit like 42, I started gaining a lot of weight, especially around my midsection. And I also owned the gym, and it was like, what's going on? I'm doing all the things, but now I'm gaining weight. And I'm feeling terrible. And it basically drove me to figure out that my adrenals were fatigued. I needed to work on those things. I also early on in my life was, someone who did not eat enough. So I would say slightly anorexic, so had some eating disorders for sure, that I worked on over the years. So it's not always been wonderful. I'm not this perfect package. And we also had a big struggle after our fifth baby. We had, like, the real estate crash happened, and literally we had so much debt. We had to build our lives back from scratch. I don't know if any of you remember 2008. But we did that and paid off all of our debt and just kind of got to where we are now. But it's definitely been a journey. And so I like to give the highlight reel, but also, be real. I'm going to check the chat box really quick here just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. So, Dr. Cindy says she's concerned about maintaining lean body mass, absolutely, and increasing metabolism. Beautiful. And Katrina's here because she's lost a lot of muscle but struggles with injury. So, trying to find ways to strength train. I know that's so tough, isn't it? Yes, I also have a herniated L4, L5 situation that happened. It was like a whole host of things when I had my 18-year-old. So 18 years ago, I herniated L4, L5, found myself in intense pain, and that has been something I've had to manage now the whole course of my fitness, the last 18 years. It's been interesting. In body image, I can completely relate. Yes, I mean, it's tough, right? To feel good in our own skin when that's what we deserve and that's what we really want. And so that's what I'm going to try to share with you all today, how to get there, what that looks like. And it's definitely not a perfect journey. Any questions before we start?
Hi, my name's Jill. I got kiddos in the background, so I just wanted to pop off mute and introduce myself. My camera's not working on my computer for some reason, so I'm just gonna just say thank you so much for this tonight. I really appreciate it. I get Dr. Cindy's emails, and I got this invitation and was just really excited to be here. Um, I I know Dr. Cindy through the Juice Plus community, and am just really excited to hear what you have to share. I'm a mom of two kiddos, a 10-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, a COVID baby. I'm 45. And so, and I've put on, yeah, a bunch of weight, just kind of dealt with a lot of mental health stuff in the past, I don't know, 5 years, and went through a divorce, just a lot of life happening. So I'm really looking to kind of, um, I'm in the self-discovery phase. And so I'm really looking to move my body more and do things that I can see results, and not just focus on cardio. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us tonight. And thank you so much.
Lovely. That brings up a really good question. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Jill. That was just so great. Now I feel, yeah, I'm like, okay, I understand why she's here. And thank you. I know that was really vulnerable. There was also something else in the chat I wanted to look at. I saw a new post. Oh, well, thank you. That was very sweet. She said, "You look great." Thank you. Yeah, I love that you guys are just here and I'm ready to share all that I know about strength training, cardio. We'll talk about it all. Anybody have any quick questions too? Like as I'm talking, like feel free to unmute. I want this to be, conversational, thought-provoking, fun. I have high expectations for you all. By the time I'm done, giving the talk, I feel like you guys will be really equipped to understand, is there a right or a wrong way, or what is kind of the best option for women in midlife, as far as wanting to reset their muscle, doing the things that are going to help to really get their body to where they want it to be, and then to do things to be more youthful. And I consider muscle like the anti-ager of them all. It's more, I consider it the bank account, right? Like you don't, when you retire, you don't necessarily want to draw money out. You want to live off the interest. And so when you have more muscle, you are going to actually live off the interest because it keeps your metabolism high. And so that's why everything we do, even though we want to lose weight and, look good, only building muscle is really what will get us there because it increases the amount of calories your body burns at rest, which is typically the better bang for your buck than trying to go out there, like trying to eat a lot less or trying to exercise with cardio, because those are all kind of the law of diminishing returns. And if that burns off your muscle, you're kind of kicking yourself, you're kind of almost working against yourself. So I'm going to talk about reclaiming your body, balance your hormones, and burn fat with strength training that actually works. So this is why strength training matters after 40. And I say after 40, like it's important the entire time, but it really becomes crucial. They've done a lot of studies. As we age, we naturally are losing muscle. And I've had a lot of thought about that, like over the years, like, is it what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Like, why does our health decline? And one of the major factors in this, I believe, is that we are losing muscle. So it's almost like that is what's increasing our aging and making it go faster. And so anything we can do to build more and have more will be really important. And our hormones are changing as we age. And so that's really not something that we can ignore anymore. But I do want to talk about a little bit of, I'm trying to get the chat up here. Okay, come on. It's disappeared. There we go. Um, I'm slim as far as tone goes. Yes, yes, yes. So just not feeling like kind of that crepey skin, not feeling like things are as tight and lifted as they once were. And I'm going to talk about how strength training can change all of that. But just to do a really brief overview of what our cycle does. And so there are, even when you're younger and have a cycle, so like Jill still has her cycle, this is how it works. Like basically the first part of the month, day 1 through 14, you are going to see an increase in estrogen. And that is that is kind of like the time when you want to do the tougher workouts. So if you are a cardio buff or something, do your cardio days 1 through 14. If you love HIIT workouts, the more stressful, tough workouts, do them then. If you like carbs, that's when you eat more carbs because estrogen helps your body deal with stress. And so working out really hard, that can be stressful. Carbs, where it's not really it's not going to maximize your burn when you eat a carb. It's more of a sugar. So that too, like if you want carbs, fine, but eat more of them days 1 through 14, because when day 14 hits, that's when your progesterone starts to rise and your estrogen starts to go down. And you'll notice like your skin isn't as bright, you don't feel as good, you don't deal with stress as well. So that basically our estrogen is our extroverted, sister, and our progesterone is our introverted sister. And so someone else on here is 59. So they're like, well, how does this, I don't have those hormones anymore, but you do. But you just basically have now less estrogen and progesterone. But towards the end of the month, then that's when you do your less stressful workouts. That's when you're sure to kind of take care of yourself a little more, maybe focus more on strength training, and you could decrease your carbs. So that would be the proper way. I've made plenty of plans for women who are ovulating, are still having their cycle, and that's what it looks like. So what happens in perimenopause is we start to see this decrease in not estrogen right away, but progesterone. So it's like they're up here together, they kind of rise, but then peri comes and this one, our progesterone goes away. So then a lot of women become estrogen dominant. So when you have too much estrogen to progesterone, that's when you start having a lot of issues with your body where you can't burn fat. Maybe your sleep is a little more reckless, things like that. You are not able to recover as well. And then what happens next is that progesterone's down here and then our estrogen starts going erratic. So you never know what's going to happen on any given day, especially around your cycle now. They might be getting shorter, closer together. PMS becomes a lot more of a thing, like someone who never struggled with it. I started struggling with it, where I get like crying and just really down and upset and hot flashes and sweaty at night. That all happened to me in my early 40s, gaining belly fat. And so then once menopause happens, you go without a cycle for an entire year. And that means basically both your progesterone and your estrogen are like way down here. And we don't really know what testosterone's doing, but I can tell you how you can keep your testosterone higher, and that is through strength training. So I have seen so many women's tests that are strength training. I know for a fact because they were in my gym at least for 3-4 years. I work with women now. I've gone on 7+ years since I even sold the gym. I work with them with their nutrition and their hormones, and I've tested them. And the ones that are in the gym consistently, even 2 days a week, testosterone is an 8, a 9. Women who come to me that I've never worked with, they're not consistently strength training, their testosterone is usually a 2, a 3. And so I know from personal data how important consistent strength training is. So it is very, very important. Is that too much information that I just gave, or is everybody still following?
Following.
Cool. Okay. Okay. Good, good. Yeah. So that's basically how, and I think it's important to understand that because when, like I said, when estrogen is gone, okay, cool. Um, we can't deal with stress as well. Our body doesn't burn fat as well. And so we try to do the same workouts we did in our 20s and 30s, or eat less, move more, that used to help us lose weight and get rid of belly fat. Your body says, wait a second, I am so stressed. Now I don't even have estrogen to help. Now I'm going to like mess with the insulin because an insulin is our fat burning hormone. And I'm going to just take all that and I'm going to, instead of getting energy and burning fat and doing all the things I'm supposed to, I'm too stressed. I'm just going to block the fat cell. The insulin's going to come at it to get the energy. It's not going to be readily available. And then I'm going to store it as belly fat. So it's a very simple process that happens. It also happens when we eat foods that are foreign to our body and it doesn't know how to break down processed foods. And so we also have that metabolism slowdown as our muscle is going away and we don't have the estrogen. And we lose some of the benefits for energy, mood, bone health. Why bone health? Well, so progesterone actually helps to support your bone. And so as that's going down, there isn't enough things to make osteoblasts to basically continue to build up your bone. And then the muscle keeps your bones healthy and it supports them. So that's why they're always talking about keeping a higher protein nutrition plan, making sure that you are doing strength training. So I can tell you it directly affects your hormones. So a lot of women, though, that I've talked to, these are common fears and myths. And one of them is the fear of bulking up. So has anyone ever had that fear? Like, I don't want to look like a man, I've
No,
heard.
no, I need to bulk up. I don't have that fear.
Oh, me neither.
Okay, perfect. I feel like it's less and less, more. I mean, kind of was a generational thing, right? And then someone, but Cindy says, yes, I have big legs. So, yes. And I too have big legs. So I was like, I don't want to do all the strength training, like my legs, And so I went through that phase as well. But I want to share with you guys a little bit more the truth of it. So it's not necessarily like the muscle is going to get so big but it will get bigger underneath the fat of the leg and then it will expand. So if we are able to get healthy and back to where we need to be able to burn fat at the same time that we're burning or making muscle. So that is the goal. And so a couple of things for legs, like you don't really want to skip them because when you work out, as a personal trainer, we're always taught in school that the body, you start with the large muscle groups and you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. Like if you work out your legs and you work out your back and you work out your chest versus just doing just your shoulder or just your bicep, because those are smaller muscles. And there's a reason for that. It's because we are going to get our heart rates up higher. So you could do a circuit training with strength and work your legs first, and it will immediately get your heart rate up, and then go into back, which is another bigger muscle group, and then do chest. And so I wouldn't even waste time with a client like doing a ton of bicep and tricep and stuff because you're going to have your heart rate up and you're going to do so much more with compound lifting. So we'll talk more about that. And bulking up just really is not a thing as far as what bulks up that we're seeing, like I said, is if there's too much body fat there and it just kind of expands when the muscle gets bigger, because that's definitely a thing. So we want to make sure that's not going to happen. But it's not, if there isn't enough testosterone, to produce more muscle, which women typically don't have. Or if women are shorter, it's more about the levers. So, like my arm is going to be a lot more bulky because I'm 5'2" and I have shorter limbs. So when I work my shoulder, the point of attachment is so much closer. Like I've trained women who are 5'8", 5'7", 5'10", and they have longer limbs. I couldn't bulk them if I tried. Like it's just so hard. I mean, I remember doing German volume training, which is 10 sets of 10 with this client, Lisa, for a year. We worked on it and she was very tall and slender. And I mean, we got a little bit of muscle for sure. She looked amazing, but nothing like what my shorter clients would get. And so that thicker leg. So it really depends on the length of your limbs as well, your femurs, how that connects. And so, Dr. Cindy, I would say yes, like let's chill on the leg if you have a shorter leg, and let's focus on chest and back, and like maybe do legs once a week or kind of cycle through them, but then also make sure that we're burning fat. Injury concerns, anyone have that one? I think that's a big one too. Anyone feel as though they're afraid to get injured or don't want to go heavier because it would hurt?
Well, I'm dealing with current injuries and I often get injured. So yes, that is an issue.
For sure. What areas, Katrina, like, is it your knees, your shoulders, your,
Uh, Bit on my shoulders, but I've been dealing with something for about 6 months now that seems to be coming from my spine, but it ends up creating a lot of problems in my right ribs, in my rib cage, and it's hard to lift overhead. And yeah, that sort of thing.
owie. Yeah. Do you know how that happened or?
No idea. Nobody knows what's causing it.
And it's both sides of your ribs, like underneath your knees or
No, it's in the back on the right hand side, and I have some sensitivity in a couple of vertebrae, and it seems to be coming from there. That's the only kind of
yeah,
hint. Yeah,
where the
but
cartilage is attached, maybe.
perhaps, yeah,
Okay.
perhaps.
And does it hurt when you breathe and or is it
It
just
can. It's a little better now, that part, but yes, it can. But
okay?
I've done several tests to rule out, various things and in an MRI, it doesn't look like there's anything obvious.
Yeah.
Um,
And see,
but
in that instance, I definitely, that's where we can fine tune and personalize it. Because, yeah, you don't want to, lift really heavy on the chest and do all these things. You want to strengthen the muscles, obviously, around that, but it has to be at a slower pace because what happens when we have a weaker muscle or we're inflamed is that is the area obviously that got some type of overuse, and it could have been even just moving wrong, but when that happens it's almost like you need to cast it and you don't want to keep re-injuring it. So we can talk about that too, like what would lifting look like you probably would benefit from just doing some bicep, maybe some light shoulder and some tricep, versus getting into the bigger muscle groups because of that. So yes, and I think it gets scary. I definitely feel that with you. I, stopped doing squats for a long time because it just hurt my back, and I thought, I don't need to do this. So I found other ways to strengthen my legs and core and things. I know there are some comments in here too. Uh, Yes, yes, definitely struggle with lower back issues. Okay, so it sounds like everyone's kind of got an area of some sort where the injury is just, yeah, concerns. So we're going to talk about that. Like, what do you do? How do you specifically train around that, like a lower back? For some people, deadlift is going to be the worst move because A, you need really good form, and B, instead of squeezing the glute, which is what you should be kind of working the posterior chain, the back, for whatever reason, comes into play. So it really comes into proper form. For others with low back, things that are going to bother them are loading up with a, squat and going down, things like that with all of the volume going onto their back. I found for me that it's fine if I lift heavy a couple days a week, but to offset it, I can't do yoga. I have to do bar, and it's not really to build muscle, but it's more to teach my spine how to go neutral, because it's out here all the time and that's what hurts it. So in bar class, we do a lot of tucking of the tailbone and little moves, and it just strengthens my whole rectus. It helps my back. So it's actually really healing. How about time and complexity? Anybody have just like, I can imagine after all I just talked about, you're probably like, my gosh, that's complex. How do I do it? Is it going to take me all day? Anybody have that concern or had that kind of overwhelming feeling?
Definitely, that's going to take me all day thing. And then you don't even start. So,
Yes, or you
mhm.
avoid it from the overwhelm, like,
Right, right.
yes, and then you're like, God, I could have got that done like this morning. But now it's 9 o'clock at night, and I guess I'm not going to do it today. That makes sense. And yes, knowing how to fit it in, like Jill's our 5 and our 10-year-old mom that has a lot to do. So yeah, and so I want to take kind of hopefully a little bit of the overwhelm out of those three thoughts, like the fear of bulking, the injury concerns, the time complexity, um, and just look around. I know. And I feel as though I have felt that way as a personal trainer, even especially in a big gym, especially around the men, around the free weights. So I mean, now I love it. I own it. I know exactly what to do. But if I didn't at this point, that would be really sad. So that's what I loved about my personal training studio, and I love about our online course is that we can do it in your home. We can figure out ways, it doesn't have, you don't have to go to a gym. And in the smaller personal training setting, we just kind of had women. So then it was like they had their own station, they had their own weights, they had their coach. So it was really nice. It took all of the complexity out of it. And then we had a 45-minute strict time schedule. And I would definitely want you ladies to stick with that. And I'm going to talk about why that's important to just stick with 45 minutes because it's the law of diminishing returns after that. And like we already, I guess I should have shared my slide, but women don't bulk as easily due to their hormones. So just we don't have the type of testosterone. That's why, men lose weight like that because they have a lot more muscle because they have a lot higher testosterone. So that's why you usually look at a man and you see veins in his arms pretty much generally, and if they have fat, it's usually right here. But their arms will still be really muscular and their legs, they just have a lot more muscle because they have testosterone, even if they don't work out. That's why your dads were built that way. Women, we are meant to have more body fat because we bear children. That is, a function of what we need to do. So that body fat helps create life, and that's really important. And so we are meant to not have as much testosterone, and that's why our hormones go that way. But we don't want it to get out of hand. So, and I think also the trend now more and more is, we want soft bodies, but we also don't want, too soft of bodies. And that's kind of the culture, the trend. And so you're like, oh, I want to look, you don't want to you have too much body fat either, but it is a function of our health. And strength training really just tones you up without bulking. So, like, I haven't really gained any size in my thighs or my arms, or my chest, unless I gain weight for boob size, but in a long time, and I consistently lift. So I don't feel as though like you get to a point where your waist just kind of stays at the same, my hips stay the same. So it's not like I'm growing my glutes or my thighs, especially after the age of 45, 50. It just gets a lot harder. And really, what it's about is just maintaining what you have at that point. So that I can do things that are hormone friendly, muscle building. So I talked about the cycle, like how to work with your cycle, how to work with your hormones when you're in the gym, and around food, and then how to work with the hormones when you don't have estrogen or progesterone. That's going to look different too. And so, or if you have an injury, I think that's a big part. Basically, I'm going to talk about too how strength training supports hormones. So boosts your metabolism 100%. It also naturally improves our insulin sensitivity. Have any of you ever had like a monitor where you could see your blood sugar throughout the day, or have any kind of like know what that's about?
Yes, same, not. I have not.
Okay. So it's a really cool experiment just to see, like, if you've ever had a higher A1C. A1C is basically a 3-month snapshot of your blood sugars. And so normal A1C should be below 5.8, and it's even better if it's lower than that. But I have had A1Cs that were ticked up to 5.8, and it really bugged me. I was like, you know what? I really want to know, like, what food is doing this? Why is this happening? And I would do the morning blood sugar and it would be a little elevated. And so I got like a glucose monitor just to see what my insulin, my blood sugars were doing. And so what happens is when we eat, our body has to break that down. And so blood sugars will rise to basically take care of that food. And the idea is you don't want it up too long. So, and that's why these small meals that we eat are not a good idea, because you have this up and down effect all day. And when it's insulin is down, your body uses body fat for energy. So when you have better insulin and it's not super sensitive and going up all the time, you're going to be able to burn body fat. So that's that in a nutshell. And so exercise, I noticed big time after I would exercise. The next day, my blood sugar would be a lot lower and come down quicker after meals. So, strength training would do that. And then, like small walks after a meal would also do that. So, I have like data on that. And it's really important because you want to burn body fat, not your muscle. And so you want to make sure that your insulin is good. And so strength training really supports that. It also regulates cortisol and stress. And the sad thing is, we do Dutch hormone testing, and most of those tests I'm seeing now are not elevated cortisol. I'm seeing women who don't even have cortisol because, and this is like an epidemic, because they've been so stressed for so long that their adrenals aren't even making the cortisol. So talk about like low-lying fatigue. That's a big deal. So when we strength train, it helps us with our stress and it helps regulate the cortisol. So as the estrogen may be gone and we don't have that ideal way to deal with stress and burn fat as well, the strength training can support that estrogen and progesterone balance, even through perimenopause and menopause, because we still have small amounts of estrogen and progesterone. And then if you're on HRT, it also still helps. Anyone on hormone replacement therapy on the call?
I am. Yes, Katrina.
Okay. Yeah, me as well. I'm on estrogen patch and then I have progesterone at night. It's amazing.
It
um,
is definitely helpful
oh
for
my
hot.
God, I love it. Yes, the progesterone cream, yay. Yeah, we actually have that as well. So it's wonderful. Even if you've had a hysterectomy, I'm like, don't take away the progesterone. Like that is so good for your body. It helps you sleep. And like I said, it's kind of that introverted sister. But having strength training supports that estrogen progesterone balance as well. So am I selling anybody on strength training yet? I hope so. So I feel like I was like one of the first, like years back, I taught a class called Women on Weights, and it was just so much fun to see women like, oh, I got the bar, and it felt so empowering and so much fun. And just to be able, like, that was the only thing I ever saw that actually changed my body, even in my 20s and 30s. Like, I would do the elliptical, I bike to work, I put my kids in the Burley. My body didn't change at all, but it wasn't until I started strength training that I was like, why doesn't everyone do this? And so I've been lucky. I've been strength training consistently for a really long time. But that brings us to our safe and effective training principles. So Having proper form and progression is really important. So if you are someone who has never strength trained before, or you're pretty new to it, you definitely want to progress your way through it, meaning what you're actually doing is you're tearing the muscle fibers and they grow back stronger. And so that happens every strength session, hopefully. So that's why you typically want to go to failure, and you also want to have really good form to make sure that you're hitting the right muscle groups. And so if you've never done it before, starting with, a 5 or a 10 pound dumbbell to do arm and shoulder strength is going to be plenty, or a band. Um, and that's super important to know. And if you take time off, like a lot of times I'll lift for a amount of time, but then I may not be in the gym for 2, 3 weeks for, a vacation or something like that. I don't want to go right back to the weights that I was doing before. Like I'm gonna have to progress my way through. And listening to your body is really important, like Katrina talking about her rib cage hurting and things like that. You would never want to push through pain of any kind or low back. And the hard thing about strength training is you're not going to know, especially with the low back, really what upset it. I went through that for a long time because it was like, spin class would hurt my back, or was it squats, or was it deadlifts? Like I was so active all the time, I had to kind of stop and do one thing at a time, and even like pay attention to how I was sitting in a chair, because sitting or sleeping on a bad back could injure it much more than one acute strength phase. So just really listening to your body and then modifying. Like if you're sitting and you're in pain, move out of the pain. If you squat and it hurts, like stop immediately. And then the frequency. So literally when I say we're tearing those muscle fibers and we want them to grow stronger, and it's all on like a micro level, you don't want to be strength training every single day, because especially the same muscle group. So I would recommend 2 full body workouts a week, and that could be in 45 minutes, like at the maximum, you can get that done. And so 2 to 3 times is plenty, and don't do them back to back, because you want the time for your body to recuperate, grow stronger. Otherwise, you're just constantly breaking down the muscle. And when the muscle grows, it's actually during rest. So I always say, like, do an active recovery. So you do your strength training workout on a Monday, and then you're going to walk or bike on Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, you might get back in the gym and do your strength training, and then you're going to bike, walk, elliptical for active recovery. So, not overdoing it. It could be just enough to de-stress, like get your heart rate to 120, 130. It doesn't have to be crazy. Out for a walk, for 20, 30 minutes. You could do it after meals. That's active recovery, because as the muscle's recuperating, growing back stronger, you're going to feed it enough protein and recover. So, any questions about proper form? That's a big one, right? Yes, yeah. And I think a lot of women get nervous about that. And the cortisol is, so like I said, I have worked with so many women, and I'm always shocked. I'm always kind of know what I'm going to see now. Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, Dr. Cindy, like, or at least like a video to watch, or to like, I could watch you do some of it and show you, you know what I mean? Because like you'll learn it, but just like I'd like to see how your body's moving. I'm very visual though, and a trainer. Like I love doing that. Just to show you, and then you would know what to look for and how to feel in your body would be, I think, really helpful. So I'd be totally open to doing that. And then having a workout routine that it doesn't have to change. So it can stay the same in the way you progressively overload, which is that progression, is you change the rep scheme, you change the amount of weight, but you don't have to technically do a new workout every 6 weeks or whatnot. You just need to make sure that you're scaling upward. And the cortisol, so remember, strength training is the cortisol healer. So it actually brings down your insulin, it brings down your cortisol over the next 24 hours after you strength train. So that's why a lot of times when I strength train, I feel kind of like tired, like, but it's not that like wired tired. It's more just like, oh, I'm tired, I'm hungry. Like I might feel hungry, I might feel tired, like kind of recovering, but it's a good kind of way. Versus cortisol will react from brain thoughts. So, like if we have perceived stresses like fight or flight, however we're perceiving it, it'll also react to lots of cardio. So, and then also not feeding our body enough food, and then not getting like sunlight in our eyes, not having the right amount of protein. So, I would say strength training is like the number one cortisol decreaser. Protein's going to be next. Walks are the next, like boom, boom, boom. It's resetting that central nervous system. Things to maybe avoid, not hiking. Like I love the hiking idea, like that's amazing. But it would be like just jumping on your bike and going full speed, for hours on end, or running, like really depleting your body for 30 to 45 minutes. Some of the Peloton classes, I think that gets really like that's pretty intense and it's a long duration. But that doesn't mean you can't do cardio. It just means that you just try not to make that the main event, make it more walking. You could do high intensity interval training. That also helps bring your cortisol down and it creates more human growth hormone, more testosterone. Swimming, oh my gosh, yeah. If you're a swimmer, oh, I feel like swimming is one of the best. The only caveat with swimming is that your core body temperature decreases and it makes you feel hungrier. So if you're someone who's like, "Oh, I'm so hungry," and then you swim, you'd have to have the expectation, I'm gonna be hungrier. So it doesn't mean like my body needs more food, which it might, but it more than likely is trying to get that core body temperature up. But that is the only, if my son is on the swim team and I'm in awe, like how he can stay in the water like that. And it's so therapeutic. We were just in Tokyo and did the bathhouses too. And I'm like, everybody needs to be in water. Lisa says, I used to do HIIT training, but my body just does not seem to like it. Harder time recovering. Yeah, me as well. I have the same issue, Lisa. I need to strengthen my core. Yes. So, okay, first let's talk about the HIIT. So I went from doing HIIT 3 times a week and I would do run. So what do I do? I did battle ropes, for like 20 seconds and then I would rest for 90. And I would do like 8 rounds of that. So it would be about 16 minutes. And you wouldn't think it was a huge deal. And then I also did the Airdyne bike. So I'd do 20 seconds on, 90 seconds, 16 minutes. That's kind of the secret sauce. But I too had to scale back because I didn't feel good. My body wasn't losing weight. It was just overly stressful. So instead of that, I just kind of started doing more steps and I do HIIT training once a week now because I want the human growth hormone. I want some of the benefits of that, but 3 times was too much. So I would say definitely kind of play with it and see, where your body is comfortable and you kind of know what you're going to tolerate or not, and then someone else said something I was going to address. I need to strengthen my core. Yeah. And so I think there's a lot of myths around strengthening the core. So one of like I love Pilates, obviously that's a great one. But I really just know that the best way is by doing compound lifting. So that means, making sure you're doing a goblet squat, because what happens during a compound lift is you're holding the weight front and center, And then you're going all the way down into a squat and coming up, and your whole core has to support that much more than if you did, any kind of crunch and I actually don't actually do those kinds of moves. Like I will continue to progressively overload in a squat, in a deadlift, with chest press, back, and I will stabilize my body and use free weights. Because free weight, that was another thing in our gym. We only had free weights because that's more how our body moves in space, and that's how we need to kind of train it. When you're in a machine, and I've moved on from this for sure, but when you're in a machine, you're going to be strong in that position, right? But that doesn't necessarily help you when you're walking up steps or when you're grabbing the laundry detergent or when you're putting away the groceries, because those are all the things that we're training for in real life, is to be able to move well for as long as we can, and that's really important. So free weights really help you build your core, by holding dumbbells and doing lunges. Just all of that is so much better, but if I do have a client who's at the gym, and I will make them a machine workout and show them what to do. I have others who have knee issues, back issues, so then it's a lot safer, yeah, to sit down and do a leg extension than to, possibly load up the back. But core training is really done just by holding free weights, standing up tall, making sure, you're overloading the body that way. So the next best thing I feel like would be a bar workout, because you're really engaging your core, and then yoga is helpful as well. For me, yoga's got that forward bend and my spine can't take it. So it doesn't matter what I do, it hurts my back. I can't do a downward dog. I can't do some of the twists. I do them, but then I hurt later. So, but I think for people who can withstand that, that's a great way to build your core as well. Man, I didn't know I had this much to talk about. Like, whew, I like this topic. Is everybody still following? Has anybody fallen asleep on me yet?
No, it's super helpful.
Awesome. I'm so glad, Katrina, this is helpful. Yeah, it's just all the commonplace knowledge I've gotten over the years. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, let's talk about like a sample workout breakdown. So we're going to talk about warm-ups. We already talked a lot about compound moves. You guys know I like those. Did I explain what a compound move is? Does everyone know? If we have a quiz, will everyone know compound move?
You
I
might want to
didn't know.
define it. I kind of get a
Yeah.
sense from, but it would be great to get your
I
definition.
bet, yeah, I mean, of course. So compound just means you're moving more than one muscle. And so like our entire body, kind of like as a community, we're connected, right? Like as humans, our body's connected. Everything is connected, and every hormone is connected, and every chemical reaction creates another one. And it's the same with that. So when you do a compound lift, so let's say you want to work your quads or you want to work your glute, you will do a squat then, and those are kind of the more targeted. But in that squat, you're going to really work your core, your back, your glute, your hamstring. You're going to get your quads. You're going to also have calves. You're going to have your ankle for stability, and your respiration, and your heart rate's going up. So compound just means there's more than one muscle group. Like when you do a bicep curl, that's more of um, it's like just one muscle we're targeting. You're getting a little bit in the forearm, you're working your hand, but it's not more than one. When you do a shoulder press and go up, you're targeting your tricep. When you come down, your bicep is stabilizing, and your shoulder and the trapezius muscle. So that's like these big things here are also. And so sometimes we don't want the trapezius to go as much. So we're going to like pull our chin in to try to get those not to work as much and get back into the shoulder. So there's an instance of proper form that took me a long time to learn, right? Another compound move is a chest press or a push-up. So when you do a chest press, it's not just for the chest, because I think a lot of ladies would just skip it, right? It is to lift, so especially if you do an incline chest press, so meaning the bench is elevated a little up, so it can be flat like this or a little bit elevated. And for women, I like to do elevated because it's going to target this upper muscle, which then draws our chest up and it keeps everything nice and lifted. But you work the chest, the upper chest. You're going to also work the bicep, you're going to work the tricep, you're going to work the shoulder, and you're going to get your core. So that's a compound lift versus just what, like the tricep with the rope pull down. That's just really the tricep and maybe the forearm. Another compound lift is the latissimus dorsi or the lat pull down. So you hold on to the bar, you lean back and you pull that into your chest, and it works your rear deltoid, it works your tricep, it works your rhomboids and your latissimus all at the same time. So those are better lifts and it brings your heart rate up higher. So if heart rate means more chemical reactions, more muscle breakdown, more respirations, more calorie burning. So that all kind of comes into play. So like in circuit training, you don't even need the cardio really. Like let's say you start with a goblet squat, and you do 10 of those, and then you go to the lat pull down, and then you do 10 of those. And then you go to the chest press, the incline, and you do 10 of those. Your heart rate is going to continuously be up and you're going to be working different muscles to give it a rest. Then you could come back around, then you could do a plank, and then you could get your upper body and your core in your plank, and then you could go back to your goblet, your chest press, your lat pull down. And that's like a full body workout. And you could do 3-4 rounds of that and be in a really good place. So that's really, I think it just gets overthought. And like we have to do all these little intricate moves and things. And it's like, you really, really don't. If you just continued to, like change the reps, like maybe increase, like do more reps for a while until you get stronger and you can increase more weight. You can do less that way. And that way you're working on core and balance. And then the warm up, typically I'll do 5 minutes, of rowing on the rower or just walk for 5 to 10. And then when I actually do the strength move, I start with just a lighter weight. So I want blood flow into the muscles. So I might just do some body weight squats to do for my first set. And then my first, set of chest, I might do just something really light just to get moving. That's going to help with injury prevention. And then same with the lat pull down. So that first set is just get some blood flow in the muscle, tell it, it's going to work. Think about what you're doing, connect with your breath. One set, is great. And then the next set, your body will be a little more ready to actually do the work. Cool down and stretching. Definitely something most women don't do or ditch out on. I know from years of experience, they're like, okay, I did it, I'm done. But I love just a cool down. My son, he's really good at that. He's 29 and he does CrossFit and all that. So like when we're done with our workout, we do like 10, hip movements and all of this different stuff. And I love it. And I'm so glad I took the time. So, if you can incorporate, one or two, especially if you have low back issues or like just thinking of your rib cage, like just doing some things to open that up. You could use the foam roller and just gently, do some stretching, do some breathing to kind of close down the session. That would be good. Or sometimes I've done my HIIT workout at the very end too. That's a good cool down because that way you're not super fatigued. Your muscles aren't fatigued from doing a cardio workout beforehand, but afterwards you just could walk for a while or do that HIIT. All right, so we're going to talk about how to overcome barriers. Where am I at on time? This doesn't show me. Am I good on time, Dr. Cindy? Has it been an hour? I don't have a clock in here.
I think, yeah, you're coming up on the hour, I think now.
Okay. Well, let me see how many slides I have. Okay, I'm just going to talk about, the barriers we talked about in the beginning, like the coachability, time management, mind shift, fear, mind shift and fear shifts. So I think the first one that I want to address is the accountability or coachability and support. So having someone you work out with is so helpful. I have a workout partner to this day. It's usually my husband, and it's not like we do a lot of talking or anything, but I just have him, like we have that appointment set and then we go to the gym together. And that really helps because even when I never ever feel like it too, by the way. I mean, I know I'm gonna love it after. I'm really glad I did it. I enjoy it in the moment, but most of the time on the way to the gym, I'm trying not to think about it. I'm just trying to get there. So, and then having my husband there is very good and supportive. Even if we don't work out together, I don't know, it's just kind of that accountability. Like, I don't want to let him down. We work out together. I'm going to go. So, I would definitely encourage you to find a workout buddy if possible. I know in our program, we have Mondays and Fridays where they work out together, some ladies, and they do different workouts on Zoom, but they're there together. So 30 minutes and it's an appointment. And I would say that's the biggest barrier to most things, like that are important to us is that we have good intentions, but if it's not scheduled or there's no accountability around it as a non-negotiable, then it tends to not become a habit. It doesn't become consistent. So, and then having time management. So, like I said, I just feel so overwhelmed, and I've done it where I've been in the gym an hour and a half, and I'm like, okay, it's time to stop now, and it's like I didn't get everything in, or this person was on the machine or whatnot. So, a way to really manage your time is to train the way I talked about. They're called supersets. So, that's the way I would work because I only had a half hour, an hour with every woman I worked with. So I was like, okay, we've got to get a full body in this amount of time. So we can't sit and rest. Like you'll see the guys resting and stuff. So if you don't want to rest, you rest by working another muscle. So that's called supersetting. So like you could do squats and then you could do deadlifts. So then you've got the front of your body working and then you've got the posterior chain, which is the back. And then you could do that again and kind of go back and forth between two different moves. You could also do lat pull down and then chest press, lat pull down, chest press. So while your lats worked, now your chest is working, but your lats are kind of resting. So you are getting a little bit of rest in between sets. And that speeds up the workout time. So you're not just sitting, and you can take small breaks, but just not taking like 3 to 5 minutes in between each move. Another great way to do it is circuits, because I would just make a circuit where, I'm like, okay, we're going to do, this kind of lifting, like we're going to do legs at this station, then I'm going to do back, then I'm going to do chest, then I'm going to do bicep, triceps, and core. Then I'm going to do it again, then I'm going to do it again, then I'm going to do it again, and then I'm done. So that's another great way to pace yourself. Make sure you get a full body in, but you're not going to spend a super long amount of time. Because imagine doing a set of squats and then resting for 3 minutes, a set of squats and then resting, and then you go to the next thing and then you're resting. I mean, I've done that too, but it takes a lot longer. The fear shifts. Like, I don't feel like anyone here was too fears that weren't legitimate, like about injuring yourself, that kind of thing. One thing I would also recommend is maybe videoing like if you don't have a mirror or if you wonder, am I doing this right? Like take a quick video of yourself doing it and then you could send it to me or a trainer or, you know what I mean? Then we can kind of take a look and it gives you the accountability of doing it, but also, then you can get that feedback. And the best thing to me is like, I want to teach a woman how to fish, like I have some women that obviously trained with me for years and continue to in some modality, but I would try to teach them like, this is how you would do it. This is how you would make your own progressive overload program. But basically I got it on another slide, but I don't want to take too long. I have obviously women who I have worked with. Let me stop the share and then I'll grab those. Any questions while I'm petering around finding my PowerPoint?
You mentioned protein. I wondered if you were going to talk about that. How?
Yeah. So so protein is just at the end of the day amino acid. And so a branch chain amino acid. And so that's how all of our muscles are built, and that's why we want you to have protein. And so with our bodies declining and muscle going down, protein is one of the best ways to combat that. And that's kind of the reason I sold the gym and went into my online nutrition coaching, is because the impact of food and protein, like if you don't have that, or if your hormones are off, you could work out all day long and it really wouldn't give you the right results. So having carbs and protein after a workout is really important. So daily, I usually say, especially someone in menopause, they should be aiming for, and don't be overwhelmed, but 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And if you are, in menopause, it could be like 1.7 grams per pound. So that would be like if you weigh 140 pounds, it would be at least 140 plus 0.7. So be 140 grams, and then you'd eat like upwards of like 180 or so. So it's a lot and it's important. So like every single day, I have at least 150 grams of protein when I take breaks. Obviously, I just sometimes just want to eat ramen and just kind of don't want to worry about it. But most of the time, I just got back from Tokyo, so ramen's on my mind. So I haven't been super good, and I can't lie to you guys. But honestly, yeah, doing and some of the things I worked with Dr. Cindy on is just increasing, like we talked about collagen, egg whites. Those are some of the best ways to get your protein up. You can do whey protein shakes if you're not super privy on that. I always tell people use egg whites. Like you can put a cup of egg whites into a shake and they're pasteurized, they're fine. You are not going to get sick, and blend it up with ice and almond milk and a whey protein to get your protein shake up to like 50 grams of protein. And I would say every morning do that. Put some chia seed in it, flax, you could put some berries. You're guaranteed your 50 grams, which is going to set up your blood sugars for the day. It's going to help you if you're doing any strength training. And then basically the rest of the day, you just have to work on getting, 80 to 100 more grams. And this is at the top end. If you are eating 60 grams of protein today, you can't just start eating 150 grams. Like that is the biggest mistake I've seen people do, because they will be super constipated. It'll be a big struggle and it's not really going to serve their body. So it, again, just like all things, it's a progressive overload. So you want to start, if you're an 80-gram person and you're trying to get to 120, as a benchmark, I would say go up by 10 grams every 2 weeks or something a day until you get to your 125. So just kind of trying to map that out. Did that answer your question, Katrina?
Sorry, I couldn't get my mute button off. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Answered.
yeah. Do you know how much you eat now?
Oh, certainly not that much. No, I have no idea actually. So,
Yeah. And so that's another first kind of step too. Yeah, hold on. I want to share my screen, but I keep going back in here. Hold on. Oh, okay. Uh, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So track what you're eating. So that's a big part of it too, is it's almost like you're an accountant for your food. And it's not so that you live that way or anything like that, but it's really hard to know. Like even me, I have to check in and just like, did I get enough protein? Usually I did, but like tonight I had, 3 things of salmon for dinner. I know they were each about 4 ounces. So that was a lot of protein. And then I had broccoli, and then I made like a mango kind of salsa thing to go over it with some rice. And I had that shake earlier, but I have to kind of pace myself and check in. So I would just see, like, first, if I was going to coach you on nutrition, I'd just say, all right, send me some food pictures. Like, I want to see what you're eating so then we can get a good tab on that, and then we can work with that and try to increase. But I think that's a really important first step. And
Okay.
then, yeah, go with, 30 grams of protein after you work out. But I want to offer to you all a free strategy call where we can personalize a plan, and work on the transformation together. So I can, guide you on what to do. You know what to do so that you're not wondering. And I think it's easier if we're on a one-on-one call. So I can put my call link in here. I have a website, all of that. So I'll email you guys. Did everyone get the email for this tonight? Obviously, yeah.
Presume so. I got a link that's from you.
Was it from me, like that said Andrea? Because I'm just wondering if any of those went to spam.
I need to.
Okay. I'll see if I can find my call schedule really quick. I can put it in the chat. And I just want to show you one of my clients, Mindy. So she was not eating enough. She's a country singer, so she like literally had a Nashville label. So she had to look good. Like that is just part of the deal. But the more she was doing, like she had 0 carbs, she was doing a ton of cardio, and literally like we spent most our time talking about food, and then we would work out some of the time, but we did a lot of strength training. But you can just see like her chest, her waist, like all of those things like just went down. I mean, she just became a little muscle dog, and it was super fun to watch. But it was after we took away her cardio, we added back in her carbs, and we focused mainly on, strength training. So that was a big part of her, success. And so she didn't know that though. Who does? I mean, who would do it? And I think one of the biggest learning things for me over the course of time is that most of my women who are really overweight, they're not eating that much. They actually aren't eating, or they're not digesting things correctly, or their hormones are really out of whack. And so I've just really changed my whole mindset on that, because you just don't know what's going on. And I think we blame ourselves, and it's not our fault. Like when things kind of go awry with our body, it's about tuning into that, fixing that root condition, and then getting the results you want as a ripple effect. But weight gain is just a side effect of a deeper issue, honestly. It's not, you're not bad, or you haven't done anything wrong, or just not strength training. Like that also, it's not a discipline issue. It's about finding things you enjoy. So that's what I really help ladies with. And so I just want to encourage you guys to schedule a call. We can talk about it. And I'm going to get my calendar link here. There we go.
Yeah, and if you can drop it into the chat, that would be
Okay.
super awesome. The email from you that I got, it went to spam. So what I got was an email from Zoom.
Got you. Yep. That was kind of my concern. I'm like, oh. So let me share my calendar here. So if you guys didn't get an email from me, because I sent 2 of them, I said, Eek, I'll see you in 10 minutes. And then I was like, oh, it's going to be an hour. Then if you didn't get either one of those, check your spam. And I'm just going to pop it in chat.
And mark them not spam.
Yes. Okay. And then there's my calendar link. Yeah. And so I just resent that too, because I was like, just in case it went to spam. I'm kind of like kicking myself. I should have gotten your guys' phone number so I could just text you, but this worked. I think we had pretty much almost 100% show rate. One person said she couldn't make it because she had a work thing. Was that who you were expecting, Dr. Cindy? Okay.
Probably, must be.
Okay. Well, you guys take a look at the calendar. If nothing matches up, then we can work on it. I do have a DM setter, so if you set something up, she may follow up with you. She's kind of like my admin, so don't be like shocked if it's, not me. But yeah, any final wrap-up questions anybody has, or anything I didn't address that you were hoping to get out of this?
I just want to encourage you guys to schedule this connection with Andrea. It changed my life in many ways. So I really appreciate being able to work with Andrea, and I'm seeing things for myself in a different way. And some of you maybe know, and I've been studying nutrition and for a long time, but Andrea put a bunch of pieces in place that turned out really made a big difference for me, and it was really quite helpful. So anyway, just wanted to say that. And
Aw.
Yeah,
continues.
I just wanted to thank you too. I mean, so few people, I think, are focusing on women who are going through a different stage of life, who are not 30 years old. So it's really nice to have someone focusing on that,
Yeah, I feel
and
like,
targeting that, because
well, you're welcome.
it's challenging. I mean, and I think women just kind of get left behind. So on that score.
I agree. I think that's why I'm passionate about it. I'm like, yeah, I honestly think it's like this new time in life where we have more time, more resources, and it could be an amazing time. And it is like, but if you don't feel your best, then it kind of robs you of it. And so I'm like, let's put into these mentors, these wise women like myself that are, now we have a lot more wisdom, patience. So we should also feel good in our bodies so that we have the energy to share that stuff because what we have to say does matter. And people look up to us. It's important. We have a lot of insight. I think society kind of writes that off, but in essence, it's a super exciting time. And I'm like, I'm more important than ever. I got some good things to tell, people, and I feel good about that. So I'm just glad you're here, Katrina, learning about it. All righty. Okay. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I
Thank
had
you.
such a nice time. So it was good to meet you all. Let me know if you need anything. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a
So
good
Thank
much.
you,
evening.
Dr. Cindy, for hosting and just sending that
Thanks,
out.
Cindy.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.